Hi, this is Lauren Stokes, and today we'll be discussing the terrible yet interesting idea of utopias. Robert Owen, a Welshman born in 1771, was atypical in the fact that he was educated at the age of 10, but like most normal little Welshmans, he was raised on a farm to share with 6 other siblings. If future Owen had a time machine, he'd tell little Owen that a man's character is made not by him, but for him, a quote from his sort of popular book, The New View of Society. The most likely reason for why you've never heard of this book is probably because the people who like that kind of stuff are people like Putin, Lenin, and Stalin. Anyway, Owen's aspiration in life was definitely not milking cows, so by 1793, his dream came true of being elected as a member of the Manchester Literary and Philosophical Society, which were pretty much just a bunch of pasty white guys talking about ideas of reform. And a little later in life, he became a member of the Manchester Board of Health, who were equally pasty and equally white, but who were interested in the improvement of the health of factory workers. After a while, however, Owen abandoned his tassley hat and took his ideas to New Lanark, Scotland. While he was there, he came to believe that the permanent cause for distress was because of the competition of human labor and machinery, and that the only effective remedy was the united action of men and the subordination of these machines. Admittedly, he was never a Star Wars fan, but he did end up helping oppress factory workers, most of whom were starving little kids, by selling them goods at nearly the price he bought them for. After a while, he left his cronies to take care of the dirty little children, packed his bags, and ventured into the strange new world that was definitely not Europe. To end poverty, he thought, all I need is 1,200 people on 1,000 to 1,500 acres of land with everyone packed into one building with kitchens and mess rooms and cute little bugs that sleep in the same beds as we do. It'll be a life of equality, he thought on his boat. Nevertheless, he was not struck by lightning. What good is wishful thinking? Anyway, his destination was America, home of the free, sort of, this was the 1820s, the brave, and the hamburger. Not really. This was the 1820s. Stepping on the New World soil, Owen felt free of the English crown and took it upon himself to establish a town out of almost pure curiosity and experimentation. Full of bravado and possibly parasites, Owen took his ideas and 300 colonists to establish the infamous New Harmony, Indiana. This and most other utopias are based around an idea of communalism. What are you doing here, Putin, you dummy? Anyway, New Harmony ultimately failed, mainly because people liked this idea of individual sovereignty and private property. This, and with no central religious belief system, the community crumbled in less than 3 years, sending Owen back to London in 1828. Next is Brook Farms, the strange love child of transcendentalism. That is a strange sentence which will always end in disaster. To get back on topic, Brook Farms was established by George Ripley in Massachusetts in 1841, and who is definitely not flicking you off. Anyway, the idea of transcendentalism is that you can have a personal relationship with God, and which was the driving force and motivation behind many utopias. The inspiration of Ripley most likely came from two of the most famous transcendentalists of the 19th century, Emerson, a poet, and Thoreau, a philosopher. These guys gave Ripley banana mouth, but we can't really forget Fourier, who, no joke, believed that socialism would turn the seas to lemonade. This is apparently a very good thing. His ideas, called Forism, whatever, were based on balancing work and leisure. The work that people did was varied. If your calling in life was to attach reading stands to ironing boards, then more power to you. The work was also equally compensated. That is, your job in the facilitation of reading in domestic life would get you the same amount of money as that guy shoveling cow poop. And yeah, that was Putin's pretty face right there. So this idea of every man, woman, and child earning a living through hard labor surprisingly did not appeal to the squishy writery types. One of them, a certain Nathaniel Hawthorne, who was also a founding member of Brook Farms, very much disliked shoveling manure and wrote, "My soul is utterly buried in a dung heap." Maybe after he left, he should have continued shoveling dung instead of shoveling the scarlet letter into unsuspecting English curriculums. So like I said before, everyone here is paid equally. The only problem was that there wasn't much of this stuff going around. Most revenue came from the town school, which was unusually advanced and raked in a lot of cash from fancy aristocrats preparing their little demons for college. As you can see here, the school, or some other building, caught fire and burned to the ground, which they never recovered from. To go over what we know, we can say that both New Harmony and Brook Farms were secular. They were Christian, they just weren't founded for religious purposes. They are both based off communalism, the idea that everything is shared, and inspired by philosophers of transcendentalism. But why would people make the trek all the way to America in the first place? The answer is in the tyranny of the crown. The king, at least from his subjects' perspective, was very interested in crushing their hopes and dreams. This led people to want a new life with a new type of society in a place that was not England. There were quite a few utopias that were very non-secular, such as the Shakers in the Oneida community, and yeah, that's a heart. Drawing skills aside, we're going to talk about the Oneida community, mainly because they are much, much more interesting, probably due to the fact that it was established by a chiroptera fecal crazy man. Okay, so the Oneida community. It was established in Oneida, New York by John Noyes in 1848, this time for religious reasons, and that says 1848. Trust me. So these guys believed Jesus had come down in 70 AD, which gave humans permission and the possibility of making a perfect world. Also, there was an added bonus of something called complex marriage. This meant that more than one mate was allowed and, in fact, encouraged. Another unique thing of this community was mutual criticism, which is pretty much everyone telling you exactly how much you suck. While good in thought, it went about as well as the utopia in which it was practiced. That is, poorly. Utopias were meant for peace, which they never accomplished for more than a few years. One good thing they might have done was to teach us what we shouldn't do when starting a community. But as we know, what we learn from history is that we don't learn from history. So, what are some good things that came from utopias? Well, ideas, for one. They encouraged people to think, to experiment. People wanted to separate themselves from this scary world and make a place of hope. Books were published like Erewhon and the Travels in Icaria. The human character was examined, and most importantly, little light bulbs came out of people's heads. Actually, at this point, they still might be candles. People were scared of electricity back then, but whatever. So that ends it. Thanks for watching. And as a side note, postmenopausal women in the Oneida community were encouraged to introduce teen males to intercourse. Also, that last book, Erewhon by Samuel Butler, was set in a world where machines evolved intelligence and babies could choose to be born. So yeah, thanks again for watching.